We're going to talk about your book. So I'm going to take you back. I know all the highlights and everything you come, but I want to take you back right at the very start. But first of all, about the book. It's obvious why, because the stellar career you've had. When did it start? When did you start thinking about putting something down in words? I remember I did something and I was like, I enjoyed doing it because it was a bit therapeutical going back and doing all the stuff. But when did you start thinking about, I'm going to put my life down in words?
Yeah, well, it's sort of towards the end of the summer, I think. Just felt like it was the right time to do something like that. And as you said, like most of my career I've gone through it, and you're always thinking about the next game. You never really look back on stuff. So I found that amazing to sort of go back. Also, not just remembering things, but also not remembering things, having to look at scorecards to jog your memory, because obviously there's that much cricket that's happened in the last 20 years. It was nice to actually go back over things and remember not just the good times, but bad times as well.
17-year-old from Burnley Cricket Club to Lancashire to Cape Town. It was a whirlwind, that start, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. But I think that, like, looking back, I think that definitely helped me. Like, I didn't have a chance to sit down and think, right, I'm playing for England. It just happened so quick that I was just like going along with it. Thought I'll enjoy it while I'm here. I didn't know how long it was going to last. You know, there were injuries in the England team, so I thought, as soon as they're fit again, I'll miss out and go back to playing for Lancashire or whatever. So I think the fact that it happened so quick did help me, and help me sort of just settle in and enjoy it as much as
What was it like? Because what was it like when you first came in? Because I remember in Cape Town, I'll never forget this moment in Cape Town when we had all that World Cup and the drama about going to Zimbabwe, and Nasser Hussain said to the group, right, you're gonna tell us individually why you don't want to go. So I was sitting in the room going, I'm second. You were the youngest. I'm second youngest here, and I'm going. We came into a very, very old group. I'm thinking, happy days. I'll just answer some at the same time. And then he went youngest first, and I must admit, I dropped myself. But that's not what I want to know the answer was. But it was what I know the answer is. When you came into that dressing room, like I did, it was a very, very older, experienced group. What was it like going into that group? Stewie was 40, Nasser was in there, Caddick, all that group there.
Yeah, I think it was.
Compared to like now?
Yeah, I think it was difficult. It's very different to how it is now. I think, you know, at that point, England were going through a pretty difficult time. Not, you know, I came in around the Ashes series where we lost. I think we lost 5-0, or maybe 4-1. 4-1. And then the one-day series where it was tough to come into that group when we're getting dominated by Australia. And it felt like there was that sense of people looking after themselves and not really a proper team sort of environment. But I think, you know, talking about Nasser as a captain, I think a lot of people struggled with him because he was, you know, he did his own way. But because he was quite blunt, I think that helped me as a kid, knowing, right, this is what you have to do, this is what I expect from you, this is what we expect from a professional in this team. And I think having that clarity for me really helped.
You knew where you stood with Nasser. I think he had a good heart. You know, but you knew where you stood, and I thought for a young cricketer that was ideal for what you want. And you look at someone like Brodie and Cookie, their whole career from start to finish was all in international cricket. There's a period of 2 or 3 years where people try to change it. You had to, you know, come out of the team, go back into the team. You got injured, and it was back, and then that stand you in good stead when you got in 2007, which was obvious that it was a changing of the guard from me and Oggy to you and Jimmy, you and Brodie. But that was like, now you're leader. Was that 2 or 3 year period a good thing to fall back on when maybe times were tough going forward from that?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I mean, when we got given that responsibility, that helped massively. Sort of that show of faith from the coach when I'd never really had that in the years previous. So as you said, I was sort of in and out. But I think then I almost felt like that was the time to try and push on, because I must have been 26 at that point. Brodie would have been 23 or 4. So you think, right, there's only so many chances you're going to get at this level. There's always going to be someone else knocking on the door. So I just thought, right, now's the time to try and really make the most of this, and that's when I probably stepped everything up around my game, the practice, the quality of practice, and the fitness side of it as well, trying to just make sure I was as good as I possibly could be.
It was an interesting time, that, because, I mean, there was a changing of the guard from what had come for the 3 years before. Straussy was then going to become captain. A lot of cricket played with. Obviously yourself, Sir Alistair and Brodie. Swanee came into the team eventually, and he kept his mouth shut. And then that little group there, along with Matt Pryor and one or two others, you added KP and Collie from the sort of the time which was successful before that. It seemed as though that was the group that was probably the most successful English cricket had for. But it had started from somewhere, so what was the main driving force that built that group from probably 7 to 12, 13?
I think a mixture of things, but I definitely think that when Strauss and Flower took over as captain and coach, that they came with this real clear plan of, right, we want to get this team to number one in the world. And they sort of mapped out a plan for us, like, this is how we're going to get there. This series we need to win. If we win 3-0, this is what it'll do to our ranking. If we win 2-1, etc. So they mapped out every scenario. And then they also said we need players individually to be in the top 10 of the rankings as well, in their individual sort of thing. And that then just drove the standards up, I think. Like, the practice went through the roof. We were working harder than ever, physically. And then by the time we got to the Ashes in 2010-11, everyone had played, well, so 2009, it's the probably start of it, that the Ashes there, I think, by the time the 10-11 Ashes come around, everyone's played 30, 40 tests. So we've got that experience. Everyone's coming to the peak of their games at the right time. So I think that period where we had that success, it was because we just drove ourselves probably to the brink, really, of pushing ourselves to be as good as we could be.
And two big characters in that became special bond over 150 times each one of the players. I mean, Sir Alistair Cook went on to lead it. You and Brodie from either end drove the team forward. You play with special teammates. I can't remember who I was talking about the other day, but there are times in life where you work with people and they're your work colleagues.
Yeah.
But not many times in professional sport do you actually go, he is my friend. He is my, I mean, if I have an absolute shocker wherever I am in the world, this person's going to come and rescue me. You had two of them. And you probably had more than two, because I think you could put Joe in there as well, Joe Root. But what was that like, waking up every morning knowing that you're going to work with your best mates?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, like you say, through most of my career, I never really had that connection with anyone. And there's a lot of players that you know, as you say, you work colleagues more than anything. But yeah, I felt lucky that I managed to create the bond with firstly Cookie, then Graham Swan as well, and then Brodie sort of towards the back end when me and him were the oldest players left in the team. And a bit of Joe as well, so I've obviously playing with Joe from when he first started with England, so for 10, 11 years we played together. Again, I feel like sometimes you get lucky that you have the same things in common or whatever it might be that brings you together. And yeah, I feel lucky that I've got that, a handful of people that I can call really close friends.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.